Once each session was over, I took the audio recordings that were done in each session, I transcribed them, and then I pinned up all the collages that they had made and photographed them. I then pulled major themes out of those transcripts and then verified or looked at what I saw in the layout of their collages against these in terms of what they really felt was important. Out of that, like I said, came some major themes. These major themes started with design for nonprofit. There were two stickies on there, design for nonprofit and design for profit. I found it very interesting that the participants felt it odd that these sticky notes were included because they did not feel like designing for profit or for nonprofit was a big deal at all. They thought that what they did, it didn't matter in what they did. Even though OSU is a major nonprofit, it wasn't important to include that in their perspective. They also felt that there was a lot of new ways to design things, that the way of designing itself was changing. We'll get into more of this as we go on. The next two kind of go hand in hand, global perspectives and communication. All of the participants felt that more communication could happen overall at the university. Not so much specifically within design, but they felt that that had room to grow too, but just overall from the administration to all of the colleges, or from within the colleges to all of its departments, staff to staff, staff to students, that sort of thing. They felt like it could be broader in the way that things were talked about. Silo philosophy was another one. Silo philosophy was one concept included on the first activity, and it was one that was talked about in length by participant 1 and also talked specifically about by the other 3 participants. They all felt that it did exist at the university and that it was a negative thing, but none of them really got into the specifics of this. It would be good to find out more about this. And last but not least, technology. Technology is not only in terms of the tools that people use, but the mediums in which people are talked to. Participant 1, actually said that technology is allowing them to do less design in the traditional sense and more messaging, because things like Facebook and Twitter are giving them opportunities and frameworks to work within, and that messaging is all they need to push. These major themes then were taken back. These were all pulled from the transcripts, were taken back to the collages. So let's take a look at those for a brief second. Here are participant 1's collages, the bullseye on the left and the task on the right. You can see in the bullseye that things started with importance layering in the middle and then radiated out as he went on. In the upper right hand corner of his bullseye is silo philosophy. He specifically forcibly kept removing that and placing it down repeatedly as he talked about it, sort of angrily, saying that he could mention names of people that were still in belief of this silo philosophy. His top 4 concepts were technology, brand awareness, brand strategy, and collaboration. On his time on task, you can see that they're very neat and orderly, so orderly in fact that he felt he needed to fold the post-its because they did not fit into things as well as he could have. He made a few changes here. Number 1, he made brand control into just branding, and he made market strategy into marketing, period. And then down around number 5, instead of disciplining, he made that disciplining and managing. Participant 3 actually requested that participant 4 be in her session. So the two of them did this together. They each did activities separately, but when in conversation and questions afterwards, they sort of were open with each other about what they did. So as you can see, the difference between participant 3 and participant 1 is that Hers are quite a bit more orderly, and that things radiate out not in 360 degrees, but in just linear across the page. She does very little layering and sort of spreads things out consistently across the page. Same thing on her activities, time on task. She used all of the Post-its, added a few of her own, you can see there, and she really established that 1 through 6 was what she did on a daily basis. I think what's interesting about participant 1 versus participant 3, and what we'll see in participant 4's, is that participant 3 and 4, who are at middle level management, seem to be doing a lot more than someone who is at senior management, though what happens at senior management seems to be a little bit more meta, a little bit bigger than what happens at participant 3 and 4's level. Participant 3's favorite words were collaboration, process, and management. Here is 4. We know a little bit about this because he was included in participant 3's session. He grouped things together, so stacks that you see like management and operations, or the role of design, or workflow, they kind of all go together in their little sections there, and he sort of used the crosshairs to organize his bullseye. And as you can see there, like I mentioned, design for profit and design for nonprofit are way outside the circle. They are in the same position as silo philosophy, as far out as possible. Like participant 3, he used a great deal of things on his time on task, using all of the Post-its and organizing them in a very grid-like fashion. Of all the participants, number 4 needed the most details about what to do. He asked questions about everything and needed definitions for everything. His favorite words were communication, strategy, and then one he came up with himself, overarching vision. Participant 5 is, again, in a non-management capacity. What's interesting, though, is hers. Her bullseye appears in the same way that participant 1's did, in a radiating 360-degree pattern outward from the center, with lots of stacking going on at the center. They both felt, participant 1 and participant 5 felt that many of the concepts listed were important, that not so much that they overlapped, but they were all important enough to put into the center. Unlike the other participants, she did find that design for nonprofit fit a little bit more closely in the center, but not too far in there, and that design for profit was sort of out of the way. She put silo philosophy overlapping the outer circle and outside the circle. I also found it interesting that her time on task, what she did on an average day, was as few things as participant 1. And she did them in different capacities, but in many ways they're similar. Participant 5's favorite words were process, technology, and service design.